Imagine you're making a game. You spend hours, days and weeks on development, and by the time you've got a playable version, you see your FPS dropping to 20. This is not the experience I want you to have. I want your game to skyrocket with FPS of 240 or even more. That's why today I'm gonna show you the game-changing strategy. This system will not only secure the performance of your game, but also it will improve your workflow. And with better workflow, you can see the bigger picture. System I'm talking about is called object pool, which is not a secret. But my object pool is something different, because I wasn't really satisfied with the solutions out there, so I created my own version, which I like to call the global object pool. It sounded better in my head. Anyway, what makes it global you'll find out during the tutorial, and for now, I just want to introduce object pool to those who never heard of it. In this game we have a robot in a cowboy hat who likes to shoot stuff, and you can see we need to create a bullet and a visual effect for a bullet, and this is how it works without an object pool. For the sake of experiment, I'm shooting 50 bullets per click. Now let me do the same but with the object pool. You see? No trouble. How cool is that? This works simply because we don't create objects at runtime. We creating a pool for these objects beforehand, and we enabling objects, use it, and once we don't need it anymore, we disable the object, so it can be used again later on. In this video I'm gonna show you how to set up this system only once and use it for any object in your game. Yeah, now let me jump to my developer seat and show you what we need to do to make this work. So over here I've got a simple project. I just have a plane, I have object creator with a simple script that I'm gonna show you in a minute, and I've got cube prefab and sphere prefab. And I'm using prototype materials from the asset store because I'm quite tired of default materials from Unity. Now this object creator does a very simple job. It has a cooldown and it creates a new object with a cooldown. If you want to know how cooldowns are working, you can check my last video. I explained 5 ways of making cooldown. Pretty cool one, pretty useful, so you might check that one as well. Now over here we're using instantiate to make an object, but later on we're gonna switch the system to the object pool, and it will use object pool to create objects. Now let's go ahead and set up this object pool. It's not that difficult actually. We need to create an empty object. Let's call it object pool, and we need a script for this, so I'm gonna add new component of object pool. And here it is. First of all, I would like to make it work as a singleton. So let's do public static object pool instance. And in the awake, as always, we do if instance equals to null, then instance equals to this, else destroy game object. So this one over here will help us to access this object pool from any place in the project, from any script. And this one will make sure we have only one object pool in the game. All right. Now to use an object pool, first of all, you need to set up the pool of the objects itself. This means we need to create objects at start and disable them so they are ready to be used in the future. Let's say we want to create pool for the cube first. So I'm going to do header pool to initialize. I never can spell this right. Initialize. And over here we're going to have serialize field, private game object. Let's do cube, and let's do serialize field, private int pool size. Simple as that. Now we want to make an object that will initialize the first pool. Let's just maybe make a private method, private void, initialize new pool. And we're going to pass here game object prefab. And in this pool, we want to do simple for loop with a pool size. And here we're going to just do instantiate same as we did before. Game object, new object equals to instantiate prefab. And we want to be sure these objects are stored at one place so they do not clutter up the hierarchy. Because of that, I want to set parent of newly created object to transform. So each object will be child of the object pool. And it would be a good idea to immediately disable the object. So new object, set active false. Now we have a method to initialize the pool. Let's open start method, and in the start we can do initialize new pool, and as the object we're gonna pass cube that we have. Very good. Now let's go back to Unity, and here I want to disable object creator. I don't need it now. And in the object pool, let's assign cube and give it pool size of maybe 10 objects. Let's go to play mode, and you'll see that over here, as a children, we created 10 cubes that can be used later on. Again, now it's a cube, but you can use it for bullets, effects, anything that you need to make in your game. Very well. Now, The goal would be to get the object from the pool. And somehow we need to save information about all of the objects that we created. And we need to store it somewhere, sort of a list. But we cannot use just list because that would be a very simple object pool. And for every new object, you would have to set up a new list. And imagine you have like 10, 15 effects or anything like that. It would be very tedious and annoying to do. That's why I developed a system that can be used for everything. Just within one script, you can control all of the objects in the game. This is so cool, I'm telling you. So we're gonna use a dictionary. If you never used dictionary before, just give me a second, I'll explain. Let's type private dictionary, game object, queue of the game objects. Let's name it as pool dictionary. And we're going to need new dictionary with a game object and queue of game objects. Now, I assume if you're new to development, you see dictionary for the first time, and maybe you do not see dictionary for the first time, but queue can be new as well. Let's deal with the queue first. What is it? Why we use it? Over here, I've got an example of books, and we're going to use them to explain how the queue is working. And the idea is very simple. You're just using first in, first out. So let's say I have a stack of 2 books here, and this one was first. Let's actually do it from the beginning. So we put in a book in, we put in another one on the top, another one on the top. Now, when we want to get the object from the queue, we get in the one that got in first. So basically, it's like a circulation of books. First in, first out. This was the first in, so this one will be first out. Then this one was the first in, so it will be the first out. It's like a queue in the coffee shop or supermarket. If you first got in, you'll get first out. So this one is used to manage the object pool. All right, this is how it's done. So we're gonna use queue for that. But that's not everything. We know that we use queue, and for each pool of the object, let's say we have bullets, cubes, whatever it is, we're going to have a different queue, and it's going to be stored in the dictionary. And key to that queue will be the original prefab of the pool. So if we would have a list, for example, right? Let me just do a quick example here. And you would want to get the certain object from the list. You would type here pool list, and you would use an index here. You would use a number. But with a dictionary, you cannot use number. You can use something better. As you can see, it has key value pair, and key is always the access to the value. So instead of using index like we're doing in the list, you can just use key to get value that you want. All right? Yeah, I hope it makes sense. If it does not make any sense to you, just stay with me. Once we have entire system together, it will be a bit easier to understand. All right? So when we initialize the pool, we're gonna do pool dictionary with a key of a prefab. So again, if it would be a list, we would type pool list 0 index, but here instead of a number, we're using prefab as a key. And we're saying that this pool dictionary with this key gonna have a new value of a just newly created queue of game objects. And after that, once we create the object, we're gonna in-queue the object. So we're gonna do pool dictionary with a prefab, and by doing this, we're already accessing the value of the queue with a key we have, right? With the key we pass in. So pool dictionary prefab and queue, new object. Simple as that. Let's take this into a method. Let's click Alt Enter, extract method, create new object. Very good. Now, whenever we need to get the object from the pool, for example, to create the object, we want to get access to the object pool, and that is not that difficult to do. And then in the object pool, we need to get access to this dictionary, give it a key to tell what object we are looking for, and then just get that object. That will be not difficult to do. It actually sounds more difficult than it is in like for real, you know? So anyway, let's just do this. Public game object. So this method will return game object, and I'll just name it as get object. Here we want to have game object prefab. And I suggest we pass a transform here with the name target, so we can give newly pulled object position as well. Just at the same time, we create and give it a position. Simple as that. So how it's going to work? We just want to get game object. It's going to be a local variable, object to get, which is going to be equals to pool dictionary with a prefab as a key, again, dq. So we're going to simply take it away from the queue, and at the same time, we're going to assign it to this local variable object to get. And then we're going to do object to get, transform parent equals to null. So we sort of set it free. It's not a child anymore of any object, and we can use it as we want. Then we want to get object to get transform position equals to target.position, so we can give it a position at the same time, and then we want to enable the object. So object to get, set active, true, and after that we simply return object to get. Very easy to do. Let's just go ahead and try to use object pool to create a bunch of cubes. Over here, it's going to be destroyed after we use it, but that is not as important right now. Let's just try to create the object. So I'm going to type here object pool dot instance get object, and here we pass what we want to have, prefab, and we need to give it a position. I'm going to give it a transform of the object creator itself. Okay. Very good. So let's save it and go back to Unity. Over here we have object creator. I'm going to give it cooldown of 1, so it's not so fast, and it's going to take 10 cubes from the object pool, and then it's going to give us a bunch of errors because we don't have any objects in the pool anymore for now. Okay, so we have the pool, and once I'm enabling this object, we can see cubes from the pool are used, and they are destroyed at the same time after 1 second. If we give it a lower cooldown and start again, it's going to be the same but faster. Yeah, very nice. Now, pool is empty, and we have this bunch of errors that saying we don't have any objects in the pool. Usually, you would be ready, you would prepare, and you would create a pool size that is enough for your game. But again, I like to, I'm a lazy guy, and I like to make my system as automatic as possible in case I make a mistake in the future. And I took care of this as well. I want to be sure that it doesn't matter what pool size we have, anyway, it's gonna keep working right. So for that, once we get the object, we want to check if pool dictionary with a prefab dot count is equals to 0. And if it's a 0, then we can create new object and put it in the pool. This would instantiate new object if we don't have enough, and only then. And because in the object pool, we usually not destroying the object, but we turn into the pool, this one would basically adjust to the level, like to the amount of objects that you need in the game, It would create enough for you to use during the entire gameplay. So as of now, you can see it creates new objects if we don't have enough. Now let's adjust the system and let's make it return objects back to the pool. Telling you in advance, you cannot do it just like that with a delay. We need some nice system for that. So as of now, I'll just make a simple enumerator here, return with delay, and let's just do yield return new wait for seconds of maybe 1 second. After 1 second, it will return it back. And here we need to type like return to pool or something like that. And here I'll just start a coroutine, return with delay. If you see coroutine for the first time and you want to know more about them, first of all, you could check my last video about cooldowns. I did explain some things there, or just tell me, maybe I'll make a video about that. Just drop the comment below. Okay, we need it in the future. Now let's go back to object pool, and over here, we need to make a way of returning object to the pool. Let's go ahead and maybe over here, we can make private void return to pool. We're gonna pass a game object to return, and then over here we need to do object to return set active false. So first we want to disable the object, then object to return transform parent equals to transform. We're gonna parent it back to hierarchy so it does not clutter up the hierarchy, and then our goal is to put it back in the queue. And here we have a bit of a challenge which is very easy to solve and which makes this entire system fully automatic. So as a key, we're supposed to use game object that we're using, right? We're supposed to type here object to return and queue object to return, and this would be it, but it's not it. For the pool dictionary, key is very important, and for this pool that we're using for cubes, the key is the original prefab, exactly this object, and this object is the same over here, so it's fine, right? We have a cube here. This is the cube, and cube here again, this is the cube. So we're using the same object, but when you create the pool of objects, we do not actually use the same cube. We create like sort of ideal copy of the cube, but it's not the very same game object. It is a clone, as you can see here. So we cannot use cube clone to access same dictionary, because with a different game object, we would access different Q in a pool dictionary. But it's very easy to solve. We just need somehow to know what was the original prefab of the object we're trying to return. What was the key to the dictionary? How are we gonna do this? We can make another dictionary that would have newly created object as a key, and value of that newly created object would be original prefab. So we're gonna go all the way above over here and make private dictionary game object as a key and game object as a value. And let's just call it pooled object origin. Let's do a new dictionary for this. Game object, game object. Nice. Now we can go down over here. And when we create in the object, we can take pooled object origin, and as a key, we're gonna pass new object that we just created, right? And as a value, we're gonna set equals to prefab that we pass in. This will allow us to have information saved for the object. Nice. Now, next time we return object to pool, we simply need to just do something like game object original prefab equals to pooled object origin, and key to that would be object to return. Nicely done. And now over here, instead of object to return, we can use original prefab. Now we need to make sure this is working, and somehow we need to call this method from outside of object pool. I think we can just make it public for now, and later on we're gonna optimize it a bit better, but for now just follow me here. So we're gonna make it public, and in the object creator over here, instead of this, we're gonna do object pool dot instance return to pool, and we're gonna pass game object here. So we need to pass a value, game object to return. Here's going to be the same, object to return. And now we need to know this value, and we're going to pass it just here in these parentheses by typing here new object. All right, let's go ahead and save everything and then go back to Unity. Just gonna hit play button, and we see we have the pool. Now I'm gonna enable object creator, and we can see these in cubes from the pool. So we don't have different amount of them because it's enough. If you reduce cooldown to something like 0.1, you see we created more of the cubes. Or actually the pool is enough. Okay, let's try. Yeah, now we created more, and then once it's enough, we're only using cubes from the pool, which is very cool, I think. But it's not everything. We can still improve it. First of all, let's go back to script and get rid of this one, because here we're using a delay only for object creator, but actually we can use it globally on the object pool. And whenever you need to return object to the pool, you can do it immediately, or you can do it with a delay. For example, it can be useful when you creating a visual effect with the object pool, because once you create the object, it's supposed to play the visual effect, and only after that you're supposed to remove it back to the pool. You cannot remove it immediately. You need to wait for the effect to be played. Or for example, in my course, enemy throws a grenade, and then visual effect of that grenade is a child of a grenade. And if I would be to return grenade immediately after the explosion, then we would not see the visual effect. We need to wait for a while. So this can be useful for these both cases, and I'm pretty sure it can be useful for other things as well. So how it's going to be done? Let's remove it from here and back here on the object pool, and instead of void, we're going to turn it into enumerator. Just like that. And we're gonna pass here float delay. Now we can do delay same as we did before. Just yield, return new, wait for seconds of delay, and then we're gonna do the thing same as before. And the only thing we need now is a public method that would start this coroutine, so we can get access to this coroutine from anywhere. That is very easy to do. Maybe over here under the get object, we can do public void return object, game object to return, and here we need float delay, and we don't always want to have delay, so that's why we're gonna set 0001f as a default value. Can be 0 as well, why not? And over here we're gonna type start coroutine, return to pool, object to return with a delay. So now when you call this method, if you don't want to have any delay, you only pass the object and it will take default value by itself. But if you want to have a delay, you just pass another value other than this and you will have a delay. This is how we're gonna use it back on the object creator or anywhere else in your script or in your project. You can type object pool dot instance return object new object, and this is how it is. But if you want to have a delay, you put comma and you give it a delay. For example, 1 second. Let's go and make sure it's working. Just gonna save it and we're gonna go back to Unity and see it again. And it's working. Alright, so now, as I said before, you don't have to set up delay for different objects if you need to. You can just use the objects pool functionality globally for any objects you have. It's not the end of it. We can improve it even more. So as of now, to make a new pool that you want to use in the object pool, you would have to create a variable and then you would have to type here a method to initialize the pool, which is generally not that bad idea. If you have some objects that for sure going to be used a lot, it's better to initialize it at start. For example, like bullets in the shooter, because we don't want to initialize pool when player shoots for the first time, especially if your pool size is very big, because that would make your game lag for a second, right? So you want to do it at the start. But if there are some small objects and you don't need as many of them, you can initialize the pool at runtime. This is how it's done. Over here, when we get an object, first we just want to check if pool dictionary contains key of a prefab. And if it's a false and we still need it, we can just type here initialize new pool of a prefab. And that's it. Now you can basically use object pool with any prefab without any preparation at all. Let me show it to you. Let's just duplicate this object creator and I'm going to rename it to sphere and assign sphere over here as a prefab. So as you can see, we have it here. We're going to call object pool and get object from there with a new prefab, which object pool doesn't know about at all. And let's just go and try this. So I'm going to enable it and boom, we have spheres in the object pool. So now you can, as I promised, use it globally with any objects that you want. How cool is that? Tell me, how cool is that? This is just amazing. Love it so much. I don't know if this system could be any more efficient. As of now, I'm pretty satisfied with how this works. Look how less of a code we have and how effective it is. I just love it so much. It's amazing, man. I love it so much. Anyway, thank you for paying attention and drop the comments below. Let me know what you think. If you're interested in game development courses, check my website. I have various genres. Anyone can find something for themselves. And I want to thank my students and Patreons and give special thanks to Friendly Robot and Retrobad Gamer. Thanks to you guys, these videos are possible.